Good morning. Today we look at Exodus 19 and 20. And chapter 19 begins with letting us know that it's the third new moon since the Israelites had gone out from the land of Egypt. So, they've been free people for 3 months, roughly. And they come to the wilderness of Sinai. They had moved again. And when they moved, they would camp and they would be in an area for a month or a month and a half, or, not a long time at this point in time. Later on in their journey, they would spend, more time in one area. But they had moved and they were at the foot of the Mount Sinai. And God says to Moses, you have seen what I did to those of Egypt, how I bore you out on eagle's wings. And he says, therefore, if you obey my voice and keep my covenant, you will be my treasured possession. You are the people I have chosen. And you think about that, today there's still animosity against the Jews. I mean, we remember, I wasn't alive during World War II when the Germans were persecuting the Jews and rounding them up and putting them in concentration camps, but there's still negative feelings, there's prejudice. It isn't just against the Jews, but we've got it in so much of our world. But God chose these people, this Jewish nation, these 600-some thousand people, men, that left from Egypt, to be his treasured possession. And I think about that, what treasured possessions do you have? Something maybe that your mom or dad or grandpa at some point in time gave you, or, there are things that we definitely treasure, that we put much value on. And so this is what God does. He puts much value on these people. And he says, indeed, the whole world is mine, but you will be a priestly kingdom and a holy nation. He has set them apart, chosen them for himself. And then he says to Moses, you tell the Israelites that, tell them, remind them of that. And then God says, that, or the Israelites, of course, they respond first, everything the Lord has said, we will do, confidence, but we've already seen how they complain about no food and the manna and whatever, but they say we will do what God has says. And the next thing we have is that God calls all of the people. He tells Moses, I want to speak to all the people. Call them together so that they can all hear what it is that I have to say. And have them gather around the mountain on the third day, but they need to, wash their clothes. They need to clean themselves up. They need to prepare and present themselves, come clean to me. And I think this is, still one of the reasons why we, come to worship. We cleaned up. We don't, normally just come in our everyday work clothes. Don't even really want to go to town sometimes in our everyday work clothes, but, God said, wash yourselves, wash your clothes. But with all of this, be careful not to go on the mountain, because I will be on the mountain, and anything, person or animal that touches the mountain will die. And he said to Moses a couple of times, remind the people of that, consecrate the people. And so they washed their clothes and they prepared for themselves. And here, this is the third day, and when I read that again, it reminded me of, Easter. On the third day, he rose again. But, so these numbers in the Bible have validity and meaning. So on the morning of the third day, verse 16 says, there was thunder and lightning, as well as a thick cloud on the mountain, and a blast of a trumpet so loud that it made the people tremble. Just the thunder and the lightning and the cloud becoming, encompassed in that smoke. It wasn't a cloud, it was smoke. And it would be fearful. And, sometimes, lightning and thunder can be fun to watch the lightning and to hear the thunder, but sometimes, it can put fear into us. And this is what it did here, that they were aware that they were in the presence of God. And, the Lord descended upon it and spoke. And he said, verse 19, that the blast of the trumpet grew louder and louder Moses would speak and God would answer in the thunder, and the people were witnesses to all of that. And I think of, how would I feel had I been there, just with all of this going on, this voice of thunder coming. And I mean, did we understand the thunder, each and every one? Or, I mean, how did that all work? But, then the Lord in verse 21, go down and warn the people not to break through to the Lord to look, otherwise they will perish, So they didn't, don't come on the mountain, keep your distance, but listen. And he said, set limits around the mountain and keep it holy. And then it's go down and bring Aaron up with you toward the end of chapter 19. And so Moses did that. He went down and told the people all of what God had said. He interpreted for them, maybe we need to say. And then Moses and Aaron go back up on the mountain. In chapter 20 is the first telling of the 10 Commandments. We have those also, excuse me, in Deuteronomy chapter 5. But, it begins with, God spoke these words, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt. You shall have no other God. So here's the, I am, this is who I am. And you shall have no other gods. You shall worship the Lord your God only, and him only shall you serve. And so here we have that introduction, and that is our first commandment, I am the Lord your God, you shall have no other gods. And we a lot of times in our looking at the commandments, the I, the Lord your God, is the first line of each commandment. I am the Lord your God, therefore you shall have no other gods. I am the Lord your God, therefore you shall not take my name in vain. I am the Lord your God, therefore you shall remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. I am the Lord your God, therefore you shall honor your mother and your father. And then commandment 4 has that promise that your days may be long in the land that your Lord is giving to you. And, the first 3 are commands, they are all commands. But the 4th one has this promise to it. If you honor your father and your mother, your days will be long in the land that I am giving to you. And in the edge of this Bible, I have written respect, obey, love, and serve, because those are 4 of the things that are in Martin Luther's explanation of that. Honor your father and your mother is that we should respect, obey, love, and serve them. This is most certainly true. And, we not only honor our father and mother here on earth, but our Father God as well. And then the other commandments, you shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness, you shall not covet, your neighbor's wife or anything that is your neighbor's, and so he spells out these 10 commandments, and this is the first covenant, basically, kind of with the people. He says, I am the Lord your God, I will take you to be my people, and I will be your God. And so we have the 10 commandments given. In verse 18, when all the people had witnessed the thunder and the lightning, the sound of the trumpet, and the mountain smoking, they were afraid and trembled in the distance. So the people were all gathered around the base of the mountain yet when Moses and Aaron were up on the mountain receiving these 10 commandments. And when they came down, they said to Moses, hey, from now on, you go talk to God and then come and tell us. We don't need to witness or hear that thunder, that lightning. This was too intimidating, too scary for us. So you be our intermediary. And God says then to Moses in verse 22, thus you shall say, you have seen for yourselves that I spoke with you from heaven. You shall not make gods or silver idols, and so he's reiterating these 10 commandments, and just a reminder that, in all of that God is so much above us, and he sets standards. And these laws, laws are for our benefit, for the goodness of society. And this is what we base a lot of who we are on, and the laws of our lands are based on these 10 commandments. And I've heard many times from people that, if we could just honor that first commandment, you shall have no other gods, everything else would fall into place. But it's just reminders for us that God holds us to be accountable.